Hi, everybody. Hello, and welcome to the live. We're going to have a few people joining us, so I'll just give you a few minutes to dial in and catch up and put your stuff to one side and join us for the live. Thank you for taking the time to come and join us live. And if you're on the recording, then hello to you too. And please, whether you're live or whether you're watching this later, do tap into the comments, because I look at all the comments and I'll be able to answer any of your questions. So welcome everybody. So just as people get themselves settled and come and join us, what I'd love for you to do is just drop your location in the chat. So let me know, say hello, let me know where you're calling in from, where you're dialing in from, and then I'll be able to see you as well on the chat. So let's just check that that's working, and if you want to pop something into the chat, then I'll be able to see where you're calling from and say hi. It'd be lovely to interact with you. So while you're doing that, let's just see if we've got some people tapping away there, hopefully. While you're doing that, let me just tell you a little bit about what this session is about. It's really about the idea of bringing structure into your presentations so that you can no longer feel muddled. So people who often are talking and they're feeling a little bit muddled and misunderstand what they're saying and they don't know where they're going, they maybe have a lot of uhs and arms, and they've got a great idea, but it's just not coming out clearly. They are possibly lacking structure. That might be one of the issues that they face. If their message is misunderstood, so they're delivering their message, but the audience isn't receiving the message, then that might be misunderstood. It's not clear. It's not following a logical structure, so people can't follow along. And the other thing is they might be over preparing or under preparing, but let's say they're so busy trying to get everything perfect that they're having too many scripts, and then they're trying to read their script and then they don't come across as a human being at all. So these are some of the things that you might be facing, or some of your colleagues might be facing, and they may be due to a lack of structure. That might not be the only thing, but they may be due to a lack of structure. So the thing is about communicating without a structure, you don't know where you're going, and it makes you feel a little bit uncertain. So that's not always great. But let me just tell you a little bit about the live show first, a couple of slides just to show you about the live show so you know where you are while people are just landing in. Feel free to say hello in the comments. Do drop in and ask any questions along as we go along, because the point of it being a live show is that I share with you the leadership knowledge that I have from working with leaders for 17, 18 years. It's a shortcut for you to learn some of these techniques, and it's free and it's weekly. I really want you to dedicate 30 minutes of your time once a week over 12 weeks. Actually, then you would have done a day's training with me for free. And the reason it's live is I want to get this interaction going. So I'd like it if you are able to post in the comments live, or if you want to do that later, if you're watching on rerun, that's also okay to post in the comments and I'll be able to reply to you. And some of the questions and thoughts that we have, we pop into the newsletter as well. So there'll be an opportunity to sign up to the newsletter in due course. So let me talk to you about this problem of having no structure, which gives you no impact. Oh, and before I do that, just to let you know that I might be having some issues around connectivity. So there's been a power cut already here this morning. So hopefully I won't get cut off live. If I do, I will attempt to come back in on the phone. So hopefully just hang in there and wait for me and I'll come in on by phone. But if I'm not there after a while, then we will put up a slide where you can scan a QR code and get sent a copy of the recording. So hopefully I've got all angles covered, but let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that we stay live. So let me talk to you about a few of the structure problems, and then I'll give you an opportunity to let me know, actually, if we go along and you notice any of these structures, please type in and let me know which of these structure problems that you might experience. So the first, well, basically there's three places where we can have a problem if we don't have structure. The first is with us as the speaker. So the person doing the speaking, it might be a presentation, it might be a phone call, it could be a meeting, but the person who's doing the communicating. If we don't have structure, we won't be clear in what we're saying, but we also won't be able to remember what we're saying. So then that's why people get attached to scripts. And the problem with scripts is it's very easy to go wrong. It's very easy to then get knocked off track if somebody asks you a question or if you forget where you are. And then also that means all accumulates to the fact that you don't feel confident because you don't really know and you're umming and you're erring and you're very muddled. So that's the first problem, is about us, the speaker. The second area where you can have a problem due to lack of structure, but you might not know it's about structure, is if your audience aren't paying enough attention to what you're doing. So they might have paid attention to your start because you watched webinar 1 last week and you now know how to get their attention from the start. But if you don't follow a structure, then they won't be able to keep attention with you because they don't know where you're going. Also, they won't have buy-in to what you're saying. So they may not feel that they understand, they're not going along with you, they're not bought in, so they're not motivated, and that leads then to a lack of action. So the problem can be things that you see in the audience. If you say they're not accountable and they're not doing what you want them to, well, you might think that that's, you might think that that's them, but actually it's you, potentially. The third place where there's a problem is externally. So in terms of the wider organisation, the customer or the stakeholders, the people with whom the communication might have affected, but they weren't necessarily directly in the room. So what tends to happen if the structure isn't very good, you might find that no decisions are being made, or you might find there's delays to those decisions and that they're being caused by your lack of structure, right? So watch out for that. And also, if you're seeing real inefficiencies in the team, that's because people aren't aware of what powers they have because they're not sure of the objective of the communication. They aren't able to make decisions for themselves, and then people aren't being consistent with their presentations or their communications. So then there's no trust amongst people. You can lose trust with your customers or your stakeholders because your team aren't doing what they said they would do. So let me know in the comments if that makes sense. Say, yes, that makes sense, or ask me a question if you want to, and let's see what you think about that. Just going to have a look and see if I can see any comments. Okie dokie. Any comments in there? Nobody's asking anything yet. Let's see if they do. Feel free to ask a comment in the little chat box if you want to. So when you have structure, though, it will really stick with your audience. So what's important is that using a structure will help it to stick in the audience's mind. So that's what I'm going to spend most of the call now talking through, a structure, a technique that works really well for giving people a really clear communication. Thank you, Lindsay. That makes sense. Hi, Lindsay. Thank you. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do before we do anything else is think about the audience. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about the audience because we're going to cover this in another episode 6. So the audience, you need to think about who you're talking to and make sure that every structure you develop is developed to your target audience. So you always prepare your Simply Amazing structure, which I'm going to come on to in a minute, with the audience in mind. So I won't spend too long on that, but let's assume we know who our audience is. It might be executives, it might be doctors, it could be children, it might be customers, whoever it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through this Simply Amazing structure, or the SAS, as I call it for short. So I'm going to take you through each of these step by step. Obviously, I normally spend I've done 2-hour webinars on this, I've done 2 days training on this, so this normally takes a little bit longer, so it's a bit of a whistle-stop tour, so I can't cover everything, but I want to give you enough to make your next presentation, communication or meeting even better than it was going to be anyway. So let's have a look. Just to let you know, this is a little quick ready reckoner, if you like, that you can download. If you scan the QR code that's on the screen now, if you scan that QR code, it would take you to the newsletter, and you can sign up to the newsletter, and then you'll make sure that you'll get a copy of all the information of the lives coming up, the links that you need, and any copies of recordings and any questions and answers, questions and thoughts. Okay, so now you've scanned that, then you'll get that downloadable graphic, and then you can use that to help you in the future. So I know that's across a lot of laptop fronts and inside people's workbooks to help them. So you'll be able to download that graphic. Right, so let's go on to the first bit. The first bit is a little intro, which is all about saying hello, which is actually covered in the 3 secrets that we did last week to grabbing attention instantly. So you already know a lot about saying hello. Just a reminder that Amy Cuddy research that we talked about last in episode 1, that you want to talk about warmth. Well, not talk about warmth. You want to convey warmth first before you start talking about competence. So don't jump straight in with competence. Make sure you've done the rapport stuff first. And you want to be able to make it about them, not you. So if, for example, you were doing a diet product, you wouldn't want to start with all the, before I begin, let me tell you about me. I've lost 15 stone. I've been in the weight loss industry for 10 years. Really boring. Nobody cares. But if you do turn it into like more of a relevant story. So 15 years ago, I was overweight and I was tired and I didn't have enough energy to look after my children, or whatever your story is. And that's why I've been working in the weight loss industry to help people like you. I know the problems you face. I face them too. So turn it into being about them and not you. But that's enough about that, because we covered a lot of that in episode 1. So let's go on to looking at how we do the structure. So with the structure, always use a pen and a piece of paper. Or a stylus and an iPad these days, but don't do it on the computer. Just write out this little graphic so you've got all of your communication right there in front of you. How good is that? On one piece of paper, you know exactly where you're going. So let's look at the first box, which is the why section. So the reasons why this topic is motivating. So you want 3 reasons why it's motivating. So for example, with the diet product, that could be about losing weight, improving health, and feeling confident. So I'm just going to stop here, and I want you to maybe type something in the chat that could be at least one of your whys. You might not be able to think of 3 whys, but why would your audience want to listen to you? So if I go back to the diet product, they want to lose weight, improve their health, or feel confident. So you wouldn't just say it with 2 words, you'd just talk about it. So you'd write those 2 words and then you'd talk about it. So who here wants to lose weight and feels a little bit heavy sometimes? Who wants to improve their health and feel fitter and have more energy? And who just wants to feel a little bit more confident? So when you say it like that, then hopefully you get that kind of yes set. So if you want to pop in the comments any of your whys, I can have a look at those in due course. Next, we've got the what section. So the what section is what you might consider is all of the presentation, the content, the data, the information, and the graphs. So there's 3 parts to the what section, and that makes it easier for you to remember, but also for your audience to process. So for example, let me show you this a bit big as I can here. So you can see there's 3 sections here: beginning, middle, and end. So that's what your story is. You split it into beginning, middle, and end. And if you need some more information, you branch each one of those off into 3 branches. And then if, like in the middle part, branch 1 has a sub branch, if you need to sort of take it off even more. So you can split things into 3s, but even without the sub branches, you could do a presentation for 1 to 2 hours with just what you've got on the page without the sub branches. The sub branches, maybe you could do another 2-3 hours from just one really simple SAS. So what you don't want to do is get talking about you and your product. Oh, my diet product is portable, it's got healthy ingredients, and you can have a free trial, because you haven't really connected with what their problem is yet. So what you want to do is you want to connect with their problem first. So what I suggest you do is you start off with the structure of their problem. So you might say, do you feel less than healthy? Do you need to lose some weight and feel more confident? Do you need to get fitter? Do you need more energy? So you start off with their problem, but 3 parts to their problem before you move on to the solution. Oh, I've got some diet products that come in easy sachets that you can take to work with you. They're 100% natural, and there's a free trial, so it's easily available. And let me show you a case study about somebody who, went from this, lost this much weight, and now they're in their holiday bikini, something like that. So you've got 3 parts to your what section. So have a think about what 3 parts you could have in your next upcoming communication. So as you think about that, maybe in the chat, just let me know, what communication have you got coming up? Something that you can use as we just go through this, that you can use and think about. So have you got a pitch coming up, or a proposal? Anything that you have coming up, let me know in the chat and tell me what you might break your what sections down into, or ask me if you've got any questions. We will be doing some more on the what section in episodes 3, 9, and 12. So I'm going to stop talking about the what for now, but just about the structure of breaking it down into those 3 steps is the important bit. So the beginning, the middle, and the end, the kind of past, the present, and the future. You could split it into those 3 things. And I just had a client actually who talked about the need for structure, especially on virtual calls. It's so much easier to lose people on virtual calls, so it's so much more important, therefore, to add structure to virtual calls. And now let's move on to the next part of the Simply Amazing structure, which is the how section. So what we've covered, we've done a little intro, we've done a really quick why they should listen. Then we've done the what, which is basically what you might think of all of your presentation, where you would put your slides if you were using slides, the content. So we've done the what, we've split that into 3 parts. And now we're moving on to the how. So I see in chat that you've got a pitch coming up. That's great. So in the how section, we've kind of given them all of the stuff about their problem, how we can solve their problem, and maybe a case study. And the how is then about bringing them into action. So for a pitch, the ultimate action, maybe number 7, would be, right, let's work together then. But that would be a bit too much to go straight in at number 1. So at number 1, you might say something like, so do you agree with, do you agree that that's a problem? Go back to what you mentioned, referenced in the what. Do you agree, or what's your thoughts and feedback on what I've said and proposed? And they say, oh yeah, it's great, or it's a bit too long, or whatever their feedback is. And then number 2, you might say, so would it be worth having another conversation, or scoping out the pitch, or scoping it out a bit more? So you gradually go down, and obviously the last one is your ultimate thing that you want, or not even your last one, because last one might be right with follow up. So it might be number 5, or number 6 might be let's work together, because number 6 might be, and once we've worked together, we'll do a follow-up call. So you want to have a gradual move into closing into the thing that you want. But if it's not selling, you're always selling, even if it's a message. So if you've just updated people on what you've been doing this week in a team meeting, you're still, what's the how? Well, the how is, next time you do this task, make sure you remember that I'm working on this task. So please come and talk to me about that. Right? So even if you're not selling, you're always kind of selling, because you have to communicate your message and get people involved. So let's look at the diet product. So in the diet product over in the how section, you might be having a look at be talking about your body now. You might do a little exercise where you get people talking about their body now, what their goals are for their body, and maybe discuss with a buddy what they're doing. That might take 5 minutes. And then you might say, so now you want to order some samples, or you might want to order later. That's fine too. But if you order now, there's a special discount. And then I'll do a review call with you, something like that. So you can see I'm using a diet product because it's something that most of us can relate to. We've probably seen an advert for it somewhere along the line. So hopefully the diet product is making sense to you, and you can use that as an example of how to do it in your situation as well. So any questions on the how section or any thoughts on the how section, please type into the chat. Now, most people don't do the how section very well, and then they wonder why the client hasn't done what they asked or why the team isn't doing exactly what was asked. But that's because they haven't actually asked for it. And I worked with a few charities before, and they do an amazing presentation. They get you crying, so emotional. The stories are great. The cause is fantastic. And then they go, thank you very much. And you're like, what? They haven't even, they haven't asked for money, but even if they're a bit embarrassed to ask for money, they haven't even asked for volunteers or to sign up to the lottery or, a small ask. Could you spend £1 a week joining our lottery? That's a tiny ask. Might say no, or scan this, or do that. So you can work from a small ask to the big ask. Would you like to sponsor our annual ball, whatever it is? So don't be one of those people that doesn't take action. Just in the comments, let me know if you think you're good at asking people to take action. Sometimes we can be a bit overly polite about that, especially British people, but then you haven't been clear about what you want. So if you don't get what you don't want, there's only you to blame to some extent. So I hope that makes sense, and let me know if you've got any questions on that. So the next section is, before we move on to the next section, the how section has got an episode 5 talking about that. So we'll go into that in a bit more detail as well. So I've got some top tips to accompany this Simply Amazing structure. The first one is that the order I've gone through it today is to make it simple, because we're just doing it in a whistle-stop tour. The order I've gone through it today is the order you do it when you're presenting. When you're presenting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, i.e. little intro, why, what, how, what if. But when you're preparing, and you might want to think about this, when you're preparing, the order changes. So you do the why, you do the intro, you do the why. But then I'm suggesting you do the how before the what. So I'm suggesting you think about preparing what actions you want the audience to take. And I'm going to ask you in a minute, why do you think this is so? So get your thinking caps on. Why do you think, whilst preparing, not delivering, whilst preparing your SAS, it is wiser to do the how section, i.e. what action do I want people to take, and then reverse back to doing the content, the before, during and after, the story, 3 parts. Why might it be a good idea to do it in reverse? Maybe let me know in the comments. And that's one of the top tips, that when you're preparing, it's a different order from when you're presenting. So when you're preparing, it's good to know what you want your outcomes to be in order to design your content around that. That's right. So what you want to do is you want to think about, what do I want as a result? And then only do the content, the what section, in relation to what result you want, right? Because otherwise you do all of this content that's all about you and nothing to do with them. And then you ask them for a result and you didn't need to include all that detail. So by doing it this way round, it helps you to stay even more succinct. So the final section is the what if section. And that is the section where the person listening is going, well, yeah, I get why I should listen. I get what it is you're trying to tell me. I get how you want me to action. But what if I want it in yellow? What if I've got a branch in Australia? What if? And these are where the audience can have any question at all, not just totally related to your content, but any question at all. And this is in a pitch. This is really where you're going to get extra business. right? Because you can talk about the thing you're talking about, but you might say, what if? And they go, oh, well, yeah, but what if we need to do it with another department as well? Oh, right, okay. Or what if we've got a problem with something else before that? Oh, okay. So that's where you can find out if there's other, because you're talking about related things, you can find out if there's other problems, but not just in a pitch, but in a meeting. They say, but what if we haven't finished project A by then? Well, what's going on with project A? You probably need to know about that before you go on to project B, right? So people make the mistake of leaving out the questions and thoughts because they sometimes are nervous about getting questions that they can't answer. But the problem with that is then you're missing out on this wonderful opportunity to get objections as well. But you can see I've got loads more to talk about that. So I will tell you more about that, but I've got episodes 7 and 8 that's going to cover that. So I won't talk about it too much here. But once you've done the questions and thoughts, you can then wrap up with a negative and a positive, which you'll learn more about in a later episode. So what you end up with, if I put this on a bigger screen for you, what you end up with, you don't need to read all the details, but what you can see here is you've got a handwritten one page that you can do your presentation from, and you can then scope out the amount of time that's allocated to it. So you might put 10 minutes into the questions and thoughts, a couple of minutes for the wrap up. How long do you need for the how? You need this much for the exercise and this much for going through that. And then you can reverse back and see that what happens is in the what section, sometimes you only need 1 or 2 minutes per branch. So especially if you're the kind of person that goes, oh no, I've got a 1 hour presentation to give, breaking it down into this structure makes it so much more manageable that you actually look at each what. They don't need to be even amounts. You obviously allocate time as per where you think you need to. But what you can do is realize that probably you've only got 1 or 2 minutes per what branch anyway. And that can easily add up to, half an hour or an hour presentation. So you don't need to worry about having too long a time to fill. Good. So I've come to the end of kind of that. There's a little bit more about another structure, but that's in the book. I won't cover that today. Have you got any questions about how that fits together? Any more detailed information, you can ask me any questions now live, or you can ask me any questions in the thread as you watch this as a recording. There's obviously the book, High Performance Presentations, which is available on Amazon, Kindle and paperback, but you can just ask me any questions as well on this thread. So let me know if you have any questions. So here's a question. Can the structure be used for a 10-minute presentation? Absolutely. And the shorter the time frame, the more important the structure, because it's actually easier to talk for an hour than it is for 10 minutes. So if you did 10 minutes presentation, you might have questions or thoughts, or it might not, but either not allocated or 2 minutes allocated, whatever you want to do there. But yes, you allocate out each time. And what you'll see is you've probably only then got 6 minutes to give to the what section, 3 parts to the what section, 2 minutes per box. That's not very long at all. So now if it's a 10-minute presentation, you've got to keep it really top line. Even those boxes might not even have 3 branches coming off of them. You might just do the 3 boxes, or you might decide to do 1 box only, but the 3 branches. So say, look, there's 3 secrets, but I can only tell you about one of the secrets because we've only got 10 minutes, something like that. Hope that helps. Let me know if it has. So now it's time for you to take action. What I'd love for you to do is take one action from today and let me know how it goes. So post it in and let me know what you're going to do now. And when you've done it, then tag me on social media and let me know how that goes, because I'm really looking forward to hearing about any improvements, the way you use it, how you're going to action this. That's what's really motivating me. I want to hear how you've improved. Here's the QR code. If you didn't manage to scan it earlier, please scan it, sign up to the newsletter, keep in touch with all the rest of the episodes, get little questions and comments from everybody else, and download the structure little cheat sheet to put by your PC or in your workbook. So join me again next Friday, 11 o'clock, same time. Not next Friday, because next Friday is Good Friday. The Friday after, the 25th. Episode 3 is on 25th of April, 11 o'clock. And it's all about making sure your complex ideas are crystal clear. So if you're doing a 10-minute presentation, that'd be a really good one for you to join in and see as well, because you've got to make it so clear if you've only got 10 minutes. So if you've enjoyed the show, please spread the word, help others to join us next time, share the recordings, ask them to join you live. You can then maybe work together as a team and chat amongst yourselves to talk about this topic this week and then another topic another week. So thank you so much for watching. If there's more questions, we can talk about those now. We can talk about those once we finish going live. We've nearly used up our time here. And let's just have a look at there's any more questions. Oh, good. So an action. I'm going to adopt the SAS structure for my next 10-minute presentation at your next meeting. That's really good. I'm so pleased about that. And thank you for watching. If you've got any more questions, please post them in the thread, whether you're live or not live. We would love to hear from you. And thank you for commenting. That means a lot. I like the interaction. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple of Fridays. But watch out for the newsletter that's going to come out next week, which will summarize some of these points, give you some visuals to work from, and give you that free download cheat sheet. Thank you very much for coming live. Thank you for watching on reruns. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Please comment and tag me as you progress, and really make sure that you use that structure every time to improve your communications. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in.